Blog Talk Radio.
What's good? I'm back for another episode of the Ant Show. And as always, I am Ant, and I'm coming to you worldwide on Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Spreaker. And on today's show, we're going to discuss the hypocrisy of domestic violence coverage in the media. As I feel like that'll be an interesting topic to discuss today on today's show. And so, as always, you can chat with me on Blog Talk Radio if you listen to me on Blog Talk Radio. Or if you want to just hit me up, you can hit me up on my social media websites. I'm on Facebook. So if you just go to my profile pages, if you listen to me on Blog Talk or Spreaker, you can just go to my profile page, and you can follow my social media networks there. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at ExpectedAnt, and I'm also on Tumblr at Mad Sexy, even though I'll probably make another Tumblr another Tumblr page for the show, because that Tumblr page is pretty much personal. But for right now, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at Tumblr at lost my train of thought. At Mad Sexy, and I'm also on Twitter as well at Inspector Ant. If you want to follow me on, be my friend on Facebook. You can go ahead and hit me up on Facebook as well. My Facebook is on, the link to my Facebook page is on my profile page. So you can find all the information there. So, today's show is all about domestic violence and the media. And I want to talk about the hypocrisy of domestic violence in the media, as all we heard last week during the lead-up to the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, the quote-unquote fight of the century, which left many people disappointed, but we're not going to really get into that today. But the quote-unquote fight of the century, as the lead-up to that fight, all the thing people want to talk about was Floyd Mayweather's past with domestic violence, as he served 2 months in prison for beating up his ex-girlfriend at the time. From what I understand, no longer together. But he beat her up. He served his time, spent 2 months in jail. And a lot of feminist groups last week with their fake outrage, as I like to call it, their fake outrage was all up in arms and upset that, Mayweather, or upset over this 3-year-old story, and they even went as far as to protest the fight and said that Floyd Mayweather should be stripped of the titles, which to me doesn't make any sense, because this happened 3 years ago. So what were these feminist groups 3 years ago? I mean, Mayweather's fought plenty of fights over the last 3 years, but either way, it goes. A lot of people were pissed off about it not today, but last week during the lead up to the fight. And so for me personally, story's 3 years old, and that's what I call fake outrage, because these women were nowhere to be found 3 years ago when all this first happened. Also in the last week, you have people who are outraged over the fact that the Seattle Seahawks drafted Michigan linebacker Frank Clark. Try to say that fast. They drafted Frank Clark on Friday in the second round of the NFL draft. Now, Clark was kicked off the Michigan football team in November after he punched his girlfriend. And a lot of people feel like, he shouldn't have been drafted, which I don't understand why people are mad about this. I get that he was charged with domestic violence. He was punished by the school that kicked him off the football team. But just because you were charged with domestic violence does not mean that you do not earn the right, that you should be denied the ability to make a living in this country. I just don't believe that. But we live in this, this society where everybody wants to be the moral police. And, we get this behavior from, corporate officers. And, everybody says it's the post-Ray Rice world that we live in. But the thing that gets me with the whole Ray Rice story is that people seem to forget that Ray Rice's wife, Janae Rice, was also arrested for assault for the same incident that occurred on that tape. And the only difference is that, when Ray Rice hit her, he rendered her unconscious. In response to her assault, that Janae Rice hit Ray Rice first. She assaulted him first. And for that, they were both arrested and they were both charged with assault. And she was knocked out by Ray Rice with a single blow. But she threw the first punch. So you can make the argument that she wouldn't have been knocked out hadn't she not thrown the first punch. Now, the charges against both of them were dismissed, possibly because, they both admitted violence from both of them. Maybe neither of them wanted to press charges. Who knows? I don't know. And that it was, at the end of the day, the case between Ray Rice and Janae Rice was co-mutual domestic violence. And, sadly, co-mutual domestic violence is pretty much, typically, troubled or, simply a bad relationship. I don't know the history of, Janae Rice and Ray Rice, and it's really none of my business, but I don't care. But a study that was done in 2007 by the American Journal of Public Health reported that almost half of domestic violence incidents in the United States are mostly co-mutual. Co-mutual means that it was violence on both sides. The man hit the woman hit the man, the vice versa. With 70% of non-co-mutual assaults committed by women, not men. So 70% of non-mutual domestic violence are committed by women. Only 30% are committed by men. But the way the media covers these incidents, you would think it would be the other way around, but it's not. And like I said, 70% of non-mutual domestic violence occurred by women, not men. But like I said, you wouldn't know that. Listen to all these feminist groups, even listen to our own president, Barack Obama, the vice president, Joe Biden, who paint domestic violence as largely and exclusively as being male on female. Then you have, earlier this year, you had Hope Solo. And so Hope Solo, she is the winning goalkeeper on the U.S. Olympic women's soccer team, as she helped lead the women to Olympic gold in both the 2008 and 2012 Olympics. And she was arrested and charged earlier this year after allegedly hitting her sister with a broomstick. Actually, was it earlier this year? Was it that happened last summer? Last summer. So she was arrested and charged with hitting her sister with a broomstick and repeatedly punching her nephew in the face. Now, the response to Solo assaulting her relatives, one of which happens to be a minor, which is a nephew, was silent. Nobody really talks about it. You didn't hear too much about it in the news. There's no demands for her to be suspended indefinitely. You don't hear anybody bitching and moaning about how the National Women's Soccer League president should resign for failing to act aggressively enough to satisfy whoever. Nobody's protesting. But yet, in the case of American football players, it's feminists, opportunistic politicians, and members of the media who want to spread their agenda. But you have female athletes of any kind, as well as just regular women in general. There's no outrage, to appease when a woman is accused of or caught committing domestic violence. And the same thing happened 2 weeks ago. You had a WNBA star, Britney Griner, who was also arrested 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned, for assaulting her girlfriend, who was also a WNBA player. And as far as I know, Griner and her girlfriend have yet to be punished by the league. They have yet to be punished by the league. Nobody's really protesting or calling for Britney Griner to lose her endorsement. Nobody's calling for the resignation of the commissioner of the WNBA. Instead, the big topic right now in the WNBA is the fact that Isaiah Thomas is now the new president of the New York Liberty, and a lot of people feel like him being the president of the Liberty, because Isaiah Thomas was charged of sexual harassment, that there's no way Isaiah Thomas should work around women, even though I have a hard time believing that in the last 8 years, Isaiah Thomas was not any way involved with working with women. I have a hard time believing that no women worked on the TNT or NBA TV set in which Isaiah Thomas has been working for the last 3 or 4 years. And before that, he was also the head coach at Florida International University, which I'm pretty sure there's women that work at that university too. But Lord, he is now the president of the New York Liberty, and people do not want him to have that job because he's going to be around women. So because he's going to be around women, a lot of people feel that, Isaiah Thomas should not get this job with the New York Liberty, and that the WNBA should do something to prevent him from doing his job as being the president of the New York Liberty. And so people are focused on that, but not focused on the fact that Britney Griner committed acts of domestic violence, and yet nobody's pressuring anybody to do anything about it. Instead, like with most cases when it comes to women, we just want to sweep it under the rug and act like nothing's happened. So right now, that's the main topics right now in the WNBA. And so my feeling towards it is that it should be that Britney Griner should get the same punishment that if it was a man. If that was the NBA player that assaulted his girlfriend, everybody be calling for that player to be suspended indefinitely. Everybody be calling for that player to lose his endorsement. Everybody be calling for that player to probably most likely never play in the league again, and probably get the same treatment that Ray Rice has gotten, because Ray Rice, for the most part, has been blackballed out of the NFL. So that's that for Britney Griner. Then also, too, last year, around this time, you had a security camera footage that showed singer Solange Knowles beating up her brother-in-law, Jay-Z. And the reaction to that was just, And some reactions got LOL. People thought it was funny. People thought it was hilarious. That was like the funniest thing in the world. Like, oh, look at Solange, beat up Jay-Z in the elevator. Nobody was calling for Solange Knowles to, be released from her singing contract. Nobody was, rallying against her. Nobody was asking for her to lose her endorsements or whatever it is that she does. None of that. So the issue I have and the issue that I want to discuss is the fact that I think the real issue with our society is that there is a double standard. There's a double standard around the necessary level of outrage over domestic violence incidents attributed to celebrities, athletes, or just anybody else in general. And I had the same conversation with a friend a couple of weeks ago when it came to statutory rape. If a male pedophile has sex with a female child, he spends, significantly more time in prison than it would be if it was a female pedophile having sex with a male. If it's a female, she probably get like a slap in her wrist, maybe 3 or 5 years in jail. A man will probably get, anywhere from 10 to 25 years in jail. And so there's a double standard. And the same thing with domestic violence. We want to hold, PSAs, saying level against domestic violence. We want to, talk about how, domestic violence is wrong and how we need to put a stop to it. But at the same time, there's a double standard over it. Domestic violence against women by men is regarded as a heinous act, and it's almost like you're the scum of the earth if you do it as a man. But domestic violence against domestic violence against men by women is regarded as people laugh at it, they think it's funny. And the same-sex domestic violence is hardly even acknowledged at all. Something we don't even talk about, despite the fact that domestic violence is statistically higher among homosexual couples than they are compared to heterosexual couples. So domestic violence is actually more of an issue amongst homosexuals than they are against heterosexuals. Homosexuals commit more domestic violence against each other than they do than even heterosexuals do. And to me that's actually interesting, a fact of just to be exact. All right. So, let's see, here we go. So 20% of women who suffer domestic violence are heterosexual. They just suffer they suffer amongst, being in a, just a heterosexual relationship, man and a woman. So 20% of those women suffered that are in heterosexual relationships have suffered domestic violence, while 36% of women who are in same-sex relationships have suffered domestic violence. So domestic violence is significantly higher amongst same-sex couples than they are against, heterosexual couples. Same thing when it comes to domestic violence against men. 7% of men have claimed domestic violence against their female partners in a heterosexual relationship, while 20% of men have had a history of domestic violence if they're in a same-sex relationship. And the number is even higher for transgenders, as 35% of transgenders have claimed domestic abuse against men. So actually transgenders suffer more domestic violence. There's more domestic violence cases amongst men who date transgenders than there are women and men. So it's a alarming rate right here. There's another case too. It says that let's see, yeah, it's just more general. 61% for bisexual women. So here's the domestic cases for women. So for lesbians have suffered. These are women that are in same-sex relationships. They suffer domestic violence. 44% of them are lesbian. 61% of women who complain about domestic violence are bisexual, and for heterosexual women, it is 35% that have suffered from have reported domestic violence cases. And as for men go, for the men who suffer domestic violence in their relationships, 26% of them are gay men. 37% are bisexual men, and then heterosexual men. 30% of heterosexual men have claimed that their women have abused them in domestic violence cases. So, again, we're talking about a double standard is that when it's a man, even though domestic violence between men and women, we're just heterosexual, couples. Domestic violence against a woman by a man happens far less than domestic violence between a woman and a woman. And just in general, domestic violence between heterosexual couples is significantly less than homosexual couples, but yet we don't talk about it. It's an issue that we just sweep under the rug. We don't talk about the domestic violence that happens in homosexual couples. We don't talk about domestic violence that happens between couples where it's a man dating a transgender, and how these transgender women are taking abuse from their boyfriends. So that's the issue. And for me personally, I just feel that I just feel like domestic violence shouldn't be about politics. It shouldn't be a subject of double standards based on the two sexes involved. Regardless of sex, the victims should have equal resource and access and consideration from the government and the society at large, and that perpetrators must be held accountable, for their actions and for the actions that they do. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, gay, straight, bisexual, whatever. Nobody should be abused. Nobody should be assaulted, and there's no reason for it. None at all. And I just feel like, we should have, it should be equal. I feel like, women should be held, women athletes, women celebrities should be held at the same level, men. For men athletes, we and men celebrities who commit domestic violence, we want to throw the fact that, they're role models. Well, quite frankly, some of these women, they're role models, too, to little girls out there who want to be like them. I'm pretty sure, Britney Griner and Hope Solo, and even Solange knows they have, they have little girls who look up to them, who want to be like them, who want to play soccer like Hope Solo, who want to be a singer like Solange knows, who want to play basketball like Britney Griner. And so when these women, commit acts of domestic violence, instead of us, laughing about it, we should do something about it. Britney Griner, who is a lesbian, and she committed a same-sex domestic violence, she fits in the homosexual category. And like I just pointed out, the domestic violence is significantly higher amongst homosexuals than heterosexuals. So that could be something that we need to look at. Why is it that more homosexuals have domestic violence cases than heterosexuals? Why is it that, people who are in same-sex relationships, for whatever reason, tend to get into more fights than people who are in heterosexual relationships? Why is it that, men who date, transgender women, why is it that they feel the need to beat on them more than they would if they were dating I don't know if it was a proper term, but I guess you could say like a regular female, regular woman. So those are things that we look at. And so, maybe that's something we should start a campaign for, is about domestic violence amongst homosexuals. Take a look at that. And also too for women out there who commit domestic violence against whether it be their husbands or boyfriends or whatever, or Solange's case her brother-in-law, or Hope Soul's case, her nephew. They should be held at the same standard as any man would. We wouldn't want a man to do the things that these women are accused of, because we've seen how the public reaction has been when a man has been accused of what these women have been accused of. So for me, I just feel like it should be equal. We should help women cry about equality. Homosexuals in this country cry about they want equality. They want to be equal to us. They want to have the same equal rights as us heterosexuals. So if homosexuals want to be equal to heterosexuals, and they want to have to live to the same standards as we live to, and because if it was a heterosexual couple, it'd be looked at totally different. Yeah, same thing with women. The women, they want equality. They want to be put on the same level as men. Well, if we want equality, then we got to treat them the same. We got to put them put them up to the same standards as we would a male athlete. A male athlete that was anything. If a male athlete was killed, these things women have done, we'd be crucifying them right now. While these women, Hope Solo and Britney Griner, kind of just skate free, and everything just brushed underneath the rug. So, to me, I think that's the issue for me is that, domestic violence should not have a double standard, and that we should all treat all cases equally. We say we want equality, but we only want equality when it's convenient for us, and that's the issue. And I hope that's the issue that will change, and that's part of the reason why I want to talk about this on today's podcast. So. That's pretty much it for today. I will be back with a brand new episode next week. And like I said earlier, you can follow me on Twitter at ExpectedAnt. And expect to spell INSPECTA, the hyphen, not even hyphen, the underscore ant. And you can also follow me at Tumblr, and that is at MadSex, that's MADDSEXXY. So in the meantime, I am out, and I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend. Everybody, be safe, and I'll be back next week. I'm out.